All right, our hangout is live today. My name is Greg, the spokesman Starjo, here today with the Gamers channel, the channel that's for the gamers, by the gamers, for the gamers of the United States, for the United Nations, and even outer space. And so with those, I have Will Weininger with me, and I have
Hello.
Sean Foreman.
So,
And so today we're going to talk about crossing over. We're going to be crossing over like Iverson. As you see on my screen, I'm crossing people out that shoot. But really, we're talking about games that are actually crossovers. And so, like, you have a particular characters in one game, and they are in another game, and you mix them all together. That is what you consider a crossover. And so, before we go any further, I'm going to turn it over to Sean to get everybody acquainted with the Gamers channel and just get some people caught up because it's been a while since we had an episode, but we are here for you and we're coming live and coming strong. So stay tuned because we got a good episode for you.
excellent, excellent. I just want to take this opportunity to get everybody caught up. I know it's been a while since we got together and talked about stuff like this, but basically, when it comes to all of the stories that we've been talking about recently, such as us talking about Xbox Live versus PSN, and us talking about some of the things with the gaming market as it is now and stuff like that. Lots of changes have been going on recently. For example, I'm just going to bring up the story about Xbox Live versus PSN. That has been gone a complete 180 recently. For those of you that don't know, and if you're a gamer, I'm pretty sure that you know this already, but Xbox currently did a 180, is going to be doing a 180 on pretty much all of its policies when it comes to putting things behind paywalls and stuff like that. So pretty soon, I say within a matter of days, there's going to be a new SKU for the Xbox One in which people do not have to get the Connect with their Xbox. It's going to be $100 cheaper, so it's going to be the same price as the PlayStation 4. And a lot of the streaming apps that we were talking about that we had grievances with being behind that gold Xbox Live paywall, that's going to be out of that. So people are going to be able to use that free just like they do with any other system out there. All right, so that's going to be awesome. Another thing that's going to be coming up is E3. That's going to be starting next week. I hope to attend. I just need to get a good camera so I can go ahead and do my walk around videos that I did last year. I want to do those again because I just want to give like an everyman's view of that. So that's going to be cool. And one recent story that I found interesting is that Mario Kart 8 was recently released, right? Mario Kart 8 could be the sole reason why Wii U sales have gone up over 600%, which goes to show that video game consoles can have all the features in the world, but if it doesn't have the games, then people are not going to buy them. I mean, it's the games that pretty much make the game system. I thought that was obvious, but that's not how the gaming industry was thinking, and that's what we were talking about in a previous episode. So if you missed all of those episodes, I encourage you that you visit any one of us. We'll give you our information at the end of the hangout. You got to see what we were talking about, and it seems that people are taking notice, and things are changing. So I'm very glad to see that. All right, now let's talk about crossovers now.
Okay, good stuff. That was a good introduction and also getting people up to speed. Definitely, if you're not up to speed so far, still due to the description of Sean, there's always an opportunity where you can go back and look at the previous episodes that we have done as well. And so, well, except for one, YouTube actually took it down when we was talking about the Xbox Live versus PS3. And so well, not PS3, Xbox Live and PlayStation Network. And so we're not going to go into that one. I actually talked about that in a previous episode. And if you want to know my feelings about it, you can watch that episode. And so now we're going into the crossing over. Oh man, there have been so many games that have been crossed over. And so for one, the first game that comes to mind is Marvel versus Capcom, those series, 1, 2, and 3. The one I prefer the most is part 2 because I still play this yet to this day. And I remember just staying up late, going to being in college, playing, getting people off the sticks and everything like that because it's like I was that I was pretty decent when I played because I used to beat people in my dorm room and everything. And so they used to get mad and everything and be like, man, I can't stand you. You should play some other game like Madden, or they want to play Spades or something like that. And even though I beat them in Spades, they still want to play Madden. Yeah, I wasn't too good at Madden, so they ended up beating me on those. But it's something about, I don't know why Marvel vs. Capcom 2 was so appealing to me because it was like it was so fun. I mean, I played Marvel vs. Capcom 1 and I played Marvel vs. Capcom 3, and it was like after that long anticipation to see if they're gonna come out with another game in the series, Marvel vs. Capcom 3 was kind of like a disappointment to me because it's like it had the good graphics, but the gameplay was not the same as it was for Marvel vs. Capcom 2. And so that was the disappointing factor for me. And then also, I was looking at Marvel vs. Capcom 3, to be an opportunity to bring back Mega Man. Because Mega Man was in hiding for a long period of time. Xbox and PlayStation 3 did a good job in, well, I think it was Xbox. Yeah, Xbox 360 and PS3 did a good job in having Mega Man 9 and 10, but it wasn't the same thing. So I was looking forward to having Mega Man. I think in 3 they had Zero, which is not the same thing in my opinion, but to each his own. But I really enjoyed that part 2. I would still play that yet to this day, and I would choose that game over 3 all day, every day, and on Sunday. And so I'm going to open this up to the panel to see if they have an experience with the Marvel vs. Capcom series, or if there's another crossover game they want to talk about.
I guess I can start off from here. Yes, yeah, I have to admit, I think the first time I really paid attention to crossovers and what they do was with the Versus series that Greg was talking about. Now, the first game, uh, well, basically, I just want to go back by saying that what I think crossovers do is simply expose an audience that would have never have seen the original source material before to that audience. That's what I believe crossovers do. So if I'm a gamer and the source material was from comics and I'd never seen comics before, then that game would have made me go and find out about the characters, from the comics because they were there, and if they were cool looking, then I would go back and say like, okay, what's their story? I got to go buy a comic and figure this out. So that's pretty much what a crossover does, and that's what the Versus series has done for me. Before I got into comic books, yeah, I was just all in video games. Video games were my hobby. I didn't have many toys. It was just games, right? I entertained with games. People came over to my house to play games. So that was pretty much my hobby. That was how I got down. So when I saw the Versus series, first game, X-Men versus Street Fighter. That was the first crossover between Capcom and their Street Fighter universe. and Marvel, their comic book universe. They put them together, and that was amazing. That was amazing stuff right there. I was just blown away by playing the characters like Gambit, Rogue, and Wolverine, teaming up with people that I used to play with in Street Fighter. And the most interesting thing about these series is that the Street Fighter characters, they didn't have all the crazy powers that these mutants had from the Marvel universe. So what they did in Capcom on the Capcom side was these normal-looking fireballs that are so small and they travel through through the screen at a very snail pace. They get sped up and they get blown up and they become like humongous lasers that fill the entire screen. And it was interesting for me to go back and see how all of these characters got upgraded moves, so that they could be on the same level as the Marvel universe. So I thought that was pretty cool. So it was interesting to see it, and I can't believe how popular it blew up because it went from X-Men versus Street Fighter to Marvel Superheroes versus Street Fighter to Marvel versus Capcom 1, then 2, which I think was the pinnacle of the hype because it had over, I think it had like 56 characters, huge roster, very I mean, the combinations of the characters that you could put together were endless, and that was the first time in which it went from a 2 versus 2 to a 3 versus 3. No other game did that before. So when that came into the marketplace, the reception and the wow factor was way up there, right? So that was a crossover well done, and that's how I think. I think that's how many people got exposed to the Marvel universe, and that's when they go out and start trying to figure out, okay, who's this character, who's that character. They started learning about the artists behind some of the stories, all of that good stuff. I mean, I think Marvel vs. Capcom 2 was the marketing factor, the high marketing point, factor, the high point, and it stayed alive. I think it had so much impact in the gaming world that it stayed alive for over a decade. I mean, people were playing Marvel vs. Capcom 2 because there was nothing like it in the marketplace all throughout that time. And when there was talks of a Marvel vs. Capcom 3, people were in anticipation. It's like, okay, I want to see Marvel vs. Capcom in the next gen. And just like Greg said, our first impression, our first exposure to Marvel vs. Capcom 3 was unfortunately not the best. But there was a second version that came out, and it's pretty decent. That it didn't have the wow factor because it got deteriorated by the first version, which just wasn't that good. I mean, the roster wasn't up there. There were a lot of changes to the controls. Yeah, I mean, to each his own. It's something that many people have gotten used to with the latest iteration, but the wow factor was just not up there. But still, Marvel vs. Capcom was a huge deal. I mean, I'm very sad to see that because of the Disney's acquirement of the Marvel license, that Marvel vs. Capcom, there will not be another one for a very long time unless somehow Capcom gets a hand on the Marvel license again. So we'll see what happens in the near future, but that was the most impactful crossover for me, and I just want to get your opinions on what your favorite crossover, what crossover stands out for you, just like Marvel vs. Capcom series has done for me. All right, I'm done.
Awesome. Let's see. Will, do you have anything to add to it?
Yes. One of the big games that stands out to me is obviously Marvel vs. Capcom. Obviously I played that as a small child, so that was a big crossover game for me. Because honestly, I had never heard of Capcom. Truth be told, like I had heard of like Mega Man stuff, but I didn't know that was Capcom. Because small town Alabama, hey, what do you expect? But one crossover game I've been enjoying, at least crossover in terms of characters, for me is I recently got the alpha for I don't know if you guys are familiar with Heroes of the Storm, but it's Blizzard's Dota type game, like similar to that, I guess you'd say League of Legends or something like that. But it is it's a Dota type game. You play a hero, you run through, and you kill creeps, and you also try to take out the enemy's base at the same time. And they pretty much have incorporated all the characters from all their different universes. They have StarCraft, they have Warcraft, and of course Diablo. And they have, so far what I've played at the alpha has been amazing. I highly recommend if anyone that has their Battle.net to set up their beta status so they can try and get in on it. If you guys have it, all you have to do is make a Battle.net account and play. And it's like even the opening mission when you play as the characters, it's like to just the tutorial stuff. It's really fun. Another experience, I guess you'd say, having crossovers growing up was the Super Smash Brothers series. It's a crossover of all the different Nintendo franchises, which for me was something. I had never heard of Captain Falcon at the time. I didn't have F-Zero. I never had a a Super Nintendo, so I never played F-Zero or anything like that. So that was pretty neat. Another one I really enjoyed, character I never heard of, was Mr. Game & Watch, which I believe was on the Famicom back in the day. That was really interesting to play as him, but for those that still play as him, his moveset, it's a very interesting person to play with. But and it was the first time I ever really heard of Samus. I had heard of Metroid before, but I didn't know the character's name actually was Samus. Because, playing the game as a little kid, you don't think much about names and stuff, so as you get older, that's when you learn those kind of things. But, yeah, that's pretty much my experience, I guess you say, with crossovers. And of course, you got games like Kingdom Hearts, which, you got Goofy teaming up with guys like Titus. Stuff like that. It's very very interesting the way crossovers work, I think. I mean, and it's not just restricted to video games. I mean, it started with TV shows, and if you look back, I mean, there was a Jetsons and a Flintstones crossover movie. Scooby-Doo crossed over with Batman. Like the crossovers been going on for a long time. It's not just limited to like video games. So yeah, I mean I guess you could say we all have some experience in crossovers. Honestly, like even if you watch cartoons growing up as a kid.
Yeah, that is a good point.
Yeah,
Before we move on, I just wanted to have Will explain what does Dota mean? What does the acronym stand for people like me who are not...
It originally stands for Defense of the Ancients, which Defense of the Ancients was a Blizzard... it was actually a Warcraft 3 mod, which took the characters from Warcraft 3, the heroes, and like I said, you went up against different, just different creeps, I guess would be a way to put it, which are monsters that randomly spawn. And they would, and you would go try to destroy the enemy tower, pretty much. And you would also have to avoid the other players, which are playing as, other, heroes from the game themselves. So that's actually originally how it started, and Dota became its own game, essentially. And that's how you get games like that came into their own, such as League of Legends and HON, which stands for Heroes of New Earth. And it's some games have some of them have really good communities, some of them don't. But like I said, yeah, that's pretty much how Dota got started. So anytime I say Dota type game, I'm talking about a League of Legends or Heroes of New Earth type game. I mean, they are fun to play. They're interesting. I'll give them that anyway. But they're not necessarily everyone's cup of tea. So yeah, that I guess you could say that's the best way to describe it. I mean, to watch a video, I guess would be probably the better thing to do. Just type in Dota 2 or something like that. So that'd be my suggestion. But yeah, anything relating to that. I'm sorry. I'm raiding tonight too, guys. For those that don't know, I am playing WoW and trying to do this at the same time. I'm actually getting a lot better at it because I remember the first time I tried playing and doing this. They know it wasn't that didn't end that well. But so far, things have. I've definitely gotten a lot better at it. Yeah, I don't ramble as much. But anyway, I'll just give it back to you guys. Are there any more questions about Dotas or?
Nah, the reason why I brought this up is because of the fact that, I personally have never really gotten into, a Dota game, or, I haven't played World of Warcraft or anything like that. But I just, since we're on the topic of crossovers, I thought it would be cool to mention that there is a fan project being released right now, which are taking the heroes from the Warcraft series and putting them together in a fighting game. Now, this is currently in development right now. There's a whole bunch of videos for it. There's a Kickstarter for it right now and all that good stuff. If this title happened to be good, I mean, really good, I mean, people, the characters are well represented and all that good stuff, and, characters look cool, just like, my impression of, the Marvel characters in the old school crossover games and the older Capcom games like X-Men Children of the Atom. If they had that same impact, then that would probably get me to go check out a previous title, a Warcraft, a Dota, or whatever. That's pretty much how crossovers. This is pretty much the mentality behind crossovers. This is why they're made in the first place. So that's why, the Marvel vs. Capcom 2 series was so impactful because, dude, it lasted 10 years, and it got people talking for 10 years. It kept people around for 10 years. So, yeah. All right, let's move on.
I like how he just does this. Let's move on. But I'm glad that Will brought it up. Actually, another crossover that I wanted to talk about was the Kingdom Hearts series. And I'm currently playing that myself, and I played the original, and now I'm playing the remix version, which is called the Final Mix. And I noticed there's certain differences between the original and the final. For example, like some of the gifts that you get. I mean, some of the chests. If you open some of the chests, you get different rewards than you would in in the original version. And also, in the final mix, there's a more importance on in the beginning making the right choice, because if you choose the sword and give up the magic wand, usually your game is going to be pretty hard for the rest of the game. But if you do it in reverse, you take the wand and give up the sword, then your character will be more balanced, and you have a higher chance have an easier chance of reaching level 100 than you would in the other scenarios that you choose. And so just little differences like that really stood out. I'm still waiting because I just played it. I want to see how Sephiroth would be different in this version than he was in the previous one. Because when I played Kingdom Hearts 2, I would say the difference between 1 and 2, he was a little bit, I won't say it depends on your setup. He can be harder on part 2 than he can be on part 1. But if you know what you're doing, Sephiroth would be easier on part 2 than part 1, because on part 1, when you get down to that last bar, when that bar turns green, you have to be on your A game, because he is not going to let up. He's going to throw out everything at you. And so on part 1, that's why I say overall he will be harder on part 1 than on part 2 because of that. Because like for me, when I play part 2, if you get down a certain rhythm, you can pretty much beat him, because he keeps that same rhythm all through that battle for part 2. But there were certain differences also in difficulty, because I noticed like in Monster, on the Monster level, I had a hard time beating the parasite cage the second time around. And I was like, I didn't understand this because it's like on part one, I mean the original, I was able to beat it easily. But when I'm playing this, I was like, I actually had to think things through in order to beat it. And so it's just little differences like those that stood out. And the reason I like Kingdom Hearts was it gave an opportunity to see not only the Disney characters, but how they would react with the Final Fantasy characters, and to see how would Squall and Cloud react to each other. Because there is a match where you have to fight both of them at the same time. And the funny thing about it was, I remember having arguments with my friends about who was the stronger one, whether it was Cloud or whether it was Squall. And for those who haven't played Kingdom Hearts, Squall does not like to be called Squall. He likes to be called Leon. And so, is if you played the game, you'll see that Squall was a little bit weaker than Cloud because if you destroy Squall, you can. I mean, the strategy usually be is you beat Squall, then you beat Cloud, and then you win the match. But I was just thinking overall, like if they had an opportunity to fight each other without the biasness, how would that react? How would that work? And for some odd reason, maybe Squaresoft heard me, and they made another crossover game called The City. So that cleared up all the things that you can ask. Who would have been a stronger character between Cloud and Squall? Who would have been a better character between Kefka and Sephiroth? And all those different things and all those different questions that you had from the Final Fantasy series, it was answered in the city. And so I know I did digressed a bit, but back to Kingdom Hearts, it was interesting to see how everything goes and it flows along from Kingdom Hearts 1 to, I want to say it was Chain of Memories, then it was Kingdom Hearts 2, and then I think after that was 365 dash slash 2 or something like that. And I haven't played it, but it's on my disc with Kingdom Hearts Final Mix. So I'm gonna find out what it's all about. All I know it was on Game Boy Advance or something like that. So I wasn't able to play it, but that was another thing that I was waiting on, and SquareSoft still have me waiting. And I'm looking forward to Kingdom Hearts 3. They have sent trailers out about it. They have been teasing everybody about it, and every time they said they push it out a year. So just like this year, they said they pushed it out to 2015. So hopefully, and I know from the grapevine, I heard from a rumor mill. So it's not 100% accurate. I'm not too sure. But there was rumors that SquareSoft was supposed to be closing their doors. So before SquareSoft closed their doors, I hope they release Kingdom Hearts 3 and Final Fantasy 15. And so that is my request for SquareSoft. And then after you make those two games, you can close your doors. You can go in retirement or wherever you want to do, or you can sell the rights to me. So with that, I want to turn it over to Sean and Will to see if they have any comments on the Kingdom Hearts series or what their view was on the different SquareSoft games or any other games that they might have in mind.
You and I were talking about this before the hangout a little bit. We chatted about it, and I just wanted to bring it up here. Kingdom Hearts Final Mix I didn't get, and that's because of the fact that I got Kingdom Hearts when it first came out for the PlayStation 2. And the reason why and the reason why that game was so interesting was because of the fact that it was the first time that the Disney characters were put in a Final Fantasy like game. All right, so it was very interesting to see that, and because of the power of the PlayStation 2, you get to see it in full 3D. It was very well realized. You get to see all the characters fully voiced. You didn't have to read walls of text just to get the story. I mean, it was all pretty much laid out for you in movie-like quality. All right, so it was pretty cool to see all of that. And yes, just like Greg said, it was definitely interesting to see how the Disney characters would interact with the characters from Squaresoft. And it was definitely interesting to see characters from different Final Fantasy games interact with each other. I mean, we didn't have any interactions between the hero of 7 and the hero of 8 before. So I thought that was pretty interesting. I mean, like we said before in previous episodes, the Final Fantasy series, I mean, they do not have an interlocking story. I mean, if they do, then it would have to be a Final Fantasy X and a Final Fantasy X-2. That's how you know that the stories are interlocking. But other than that, there's only certain similarities between all of the Final Fantasy games, but other than that, they're completely different games, completely different stories, completely different universes. So, yeah, that was definitely interesting to see all of that play out in Final Fantasy. And I'd like to call this as fan service. I mean, like Greg said earlier, people wanted to know how these guys would interact or who was the strongest and stuff like that. So they put these two characters together, and they may not have fought each other in the game, but you had the opportunity to fight them in the arena, and based on their abilities that they were given in the game, you can come to your own conclusions on who was stronger in that game. So that was pretty cool. I spent a lot of time on that game. Went through the trouble of building the gummies, how I wanted it, and all that good stuff. Found every kind of weapon I could find. Got the secret weapons. Did all the challenges in the arena. I 100%ed that game, and I don't usually do that. I mean, this was one of the first RPGs that I ever played. I mean, the first RPG that I ever played was Final Fantasy X, then went back to 7, then played Kingdom Hearts, and then played 8 and so on because I got enthralled in the series. But I'm not really an RPG player, but I spent time. I put in the time in Kingdom Hearts, and that was because of the fact that it had so much fan service and it had the content to keep me around. And I like animation, so of course I watched a whole bunch of Mickey Mouse cartoons. I'm well familiar with Disney. I'm a fan of Disney, so it was definitely cool to play that game on that merit alone. So yeah, awesome crossover.
Awesome. Let's see. Will, what about you?
I actually am going to have to agree with Sean as usual because he says it so much more eloquently than me. But yes, Kingdom Hearts was an amazing series, turned to a really great franchise. I think Heart and Do, not just because it is actually really good gameplay, and I think that's part of it too. Actually, something we're kind of overlooking. Like, it's not just the fact that these games are crossovers; it's the fact they're done really well too. Like all the games we mentioned tonight, Super Smash Brothers, Kingdom Hearts, everything. Have all been really well made games.
Let's see. Let's turn it to the other side. We talked about this crossover game. Was there a crossover game that you thought was like, oh my god, it was a horror?
What was the question? I barely heard you.
Yeah, was there actually was there a crossover game that you played and you thought it was like, oh my god, this is the worst game ever?
Hmm. That I have to think about.
Y'all can't think of that? I know. Well, I guess I'll start it off. The worst game I would say is I thought. I mean, when I thought that it would be meshed with this game, I thought it was going to be awesome. I thought there was no way you could mess up that game. But unfortunately, I was wrong. From the characters, even the character that I was looking for, it was messed up. And then just seeing how they meshed the particular characters from one group into the other, and it didn't flow too well. And so the game that I'm talking about is Street Fighter Cross Tekken. I was so excited about that game because it's like Street Fighter versus Tekken. It was like it was a Tekken series. I'm a Tekken man. I love Tekken. I play Tekken 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, Tekken Tag 2. I even played Tekken Revolution. And so when I saw Street Fighter Cross Tekken, I thought there is no way they can mess up this game. Unfortunately, I was wrong. I was utterly wrong because they tried to give, they tried to mesh the Tekken people into a Street Fighter environment, which didn't work out too well. If they if they wanted to do it the right way, I would have thought that they would have brought Street Fighter people into the Tekken ring because that would have been a little bit easier to make those work. Because there's not too many people in the Tekken realm that actually throw fireballs. And so having those type of animations and things like that, where it looks like you're taking Tekken and putting it into a Street Fighter 4 world, it didn't work out too well. And then the other just slap to the face that they did was they answered the call for Mega Man, but it looked like one of the washed up has been people that they found off the street and just put them in a Mega Man suit and just told them, you know, here's a gun, just do what you do. And so it was like he was like a gag character. So I didn't like. I thought it was like they wasn't really serious about this Mega Man because it's like he was one of the joke characters from what I understand. So he was like a joke character. Then on top of that, they put in Pac-Man, and Pac-Man was even stronger than Mega Man. So it's like you cannot be serious about this game. And so everything, majority of the things you could think of that went wrong with this game, they actually decided and made a full intention to try to mess up the game, and they succeeded. They succeeded with flying colors to make the worst crossover game, in my opinion, ever. And so, with that, I want to hear y'all opinion. Definitely type in your comments and tell me what would you thought was the worst crossover. Maybe some of you think Street Fighter Cross Tekken was actually a good game. Unfortunately, I can't agree with you on that, even though I have it. But definitely leave your comments, and I'm going to see if Sean or Will have any comments on that particular game, or if there's a game that they have in mind as well.
That was a pretty good. I think that's up there in the worst crossover category, I must say. Yes. In order to add to the things that went wrong with that game, I mean, granted, I mean, I personally think that the game itself has a pretty good system, but you know, when it first came out, it was riddled with flaws. All of the games that all of the games that people played when the game first came out pretty much ended in time over, so it needed a dramatic overhaul when it came to the mechanics and the some of the frame data that that game had. It pretty much had like overpowered jabs, people keeping people in lockdown, and the clock just going way too damn fast. It was pretty bad. And plus, they had a gem system that pretty much gave the characters some heightened attributes. That some of them were free, some of them you had to pay to earn. So it was pretty much the idea that if you want to get good at the game, that you had to pay to play, and that was another thing that was a strike against Capcom in that respect. And of course, the whole Mega Man thing. I mean, shoot, they just brought out bad box out Mega Man. The Mega Man that was on the cover of the first Mega Man, painted by some guy over here in the States for a Japanese game. Not cool because that guy had no idea who Mega Man was, so he just put a man with a gun in there. It wasn't blue, it was blue and mostly yellow. And yes, and like Will said, this guy was an overaged, retired guy that was somehow forced to don the suit and go out and try to do what he used to do back in his heyday. Definitely not the representation of Mega Man that people wanted, especially after a long hiatus without a true Mega Man sequel, especially in the current gen systems. I mean, the latest Mega Man games were pretty much a homage to the previous titles. So with 9 and 10 being released for the PlayStation 3 and the other systems, they went back to the original NES titles, 1 through 6, and I mean no 1 through 5. Yeah, 1 through 6. 1 through 6, and gave it that look, that feel, gave it gave them that music, all of that good stuff. Just to cater to the people who really played those games back in the day, and hopefully gain the retro audience. But there wasn't really any innovation when it came to how would Mega Man fare in a true 3D environment. All right, people wanted that, and they didn't get it, and to see that was a definite slap in the face. So yeah, that was a definite good entry right there, Will. Greg, definitely a good one. I was thinking during that time that you were speaking would be Spawn in Soul Calibur 2. Across the three systems, PlayStation 2, Xbox, and GameCube, Spawn was by far the worst crossover character that was added. Now, Spawn was the Xbox exclusive. And the only reason why Spawn was in there was because Namco was releasing a multi-platform release of Spawn, which was, their take on the Spawn universe. They gave him a new axe weapon that I'd never seen him have in the comics. Correct me if I'm wrong. But they gave him the short axe, and he was, twirling it behind his back and doing these twirls up in the air, doing these magic attacks, temporarily floating in the air. I mean, it didn't look like Spawn. I mean, this is an army veteran, right? So how in the world is he doing all of these twirly things with this axe and, doing these twirls up in the air just to throw magic attacks? I mean, it did not look like Spawn. I mean, Spawn uses the chains. Spawn uses intimidation, fire. That wasn't in Soul Calibur 2. So, yeah, I thought that was a very bad crossover attempt. But, yeah, definitely not as bad as Street Fighter Cross Tekken. Although people still play that game, Street Fighter Cross Tekken leaves a bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah, so definitely. Yeah, I forgot about that. I actually thought the Link version or the GameCube version was the worst one.
Oh no, I
But
think Link was best. I think that was a pretty good representation of the character, and I definitely definitely like seeing him played in a three-dimensional setting, like they put him out there. He had the bombs, he had the bows and arrows, he had all of that good stuff. And oh my God, we lost Will.
uh-oh. Yeah, that's something else. Yeah, I just didn't like. I don't know. I just couldn't see
He attacked me and
see Link as a person that be in that arena though. that's the whole thing. You know, I could see Spawn, you know, duking it out and things like that, and I could see Heihachi because he hosted the Iron Fist, and of course Namco made Tekken, so that made sense that they come together. And Namco also made Spawn, so that made sense. Those come together. I didn't understand. I could see maybe okay, Link is a Nintendo character. I'm trying to see okay, are they going directly to a crossover like that? And so, not sure. It was interesting to see like it was kind of weird to see Link in that type of arena fighting, where he usually fighting the Dongos and Ganon. He never really fought other people. So I guess if they made like a fighting game with Link, I probably could understand it.
Yeah,
So
keep in mind though that that link was created after Smash Brothers Melee, so they pretty much took Smash Brothers Melee. They gave him that moveset along with
uh,
it made sense back then, right? A lot of people thought that that Link was the same as the Link in the Smash Brothers series. So a lot of the stuff that Link did in Smash Brothers Melee, that was in Soul Calibur 2.
okay, I got you. Yeah, I didn't know he was in Smash Brothers. Yeah,
Hmm.
probably should have known that. Really, I should have known that. I've been playing that game.
Speaking of
Yeah,
Smash Brothers,
I need to
who
watch
else is hyped for? Yeah, the next Smash Brothers are coming out. There's going to be a 3DS version coming out within the next couple of months, and there's going to be the Wii U version coming up at the end of the year.
Oh wow, that's gonna be what's up.
Hmm.
Yeah, so
I'm
y'all
like,
definitely got to save your money up for that.
yes, 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 yes.
Yeah, so I think I don't know. Those the only things that I could think of is the worst crossover game that I could think of.
We gotta get Will on this.
Okay, yeah. Will, what is your opinion on the worst crossover game?
First off, sorry for disconnecting there. Second, worst crossover game I've ever played. Oy, I don't think I've ever actually played anyone that's been like too terrible. At least not to my knowledge.
Yeah.
But if I had to take one guess, I would say I got nothing right now, guys. I'll be honest with you, I really have never played a bad crossover game. Because, like I said, the few crossover games I have played, they've been games, you know, Super Smash Brothers, Kingdom Hearts. So I've never really actually played a bad one.
I came up with one.
Okay.
Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe.
You know,
Oh yeah.
I actually enjoyed that game. Thank you very much.
Oh my god. I tried playing it over at this place called Gameplay when it first came out. This place had like two displays on that game because the hype was way up there. But the game was so broken. I mean, people who were playing the game were finding exploits day one. Day one. So it was, so fundamentally, with all of the gimmicks that they tried to incorporate in the game, with the whole, taking people through buildings and, throwing them off cliffs and, trying to get that mechanic in which people are trying to wrestle each other before they hit the ground. I mean, it looks cool for the first couple of times you see it, but then you realize that they're reusing the same animations for everything, and they can be easily exploited. And the combo system is garbage. And I think not a lot of people were fans of how the DC characters were represented in that game. So I'm not really sure about it.
Let's see. Yeah, I think I missed that one because I'm not really a Mortal Kombat fan. So after playing Mortal Kombat 3, that was it for me. I was like, yeah, especially when they tried to do the combo system for Part 3, and I didn't really care for it. So
Yeah, I think
I
I'm.
was wondering, since you played it, did they have the little fatality thing?
Um,
They did have fatalities, but they were like toned down for Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe.
yeah, that's right. It was a T-rated game. It wasn't M.
Yeah,
So basically, the
very toned down.
yeah, very toned down. I mean, I think the worst that you would see would be Joker shooting some guy in the head, his opponent in the head as a fatality. And the heroes, people who are heroes, on the good side, they were called brutalities, not fatalities.
Yeah.
They will basically just beat them down to the ground, and then they're done. They're still alive per se, but that they're not getting back up, basically.
Hmm.
But yeah, pretty lame. The screen goes dark and all that good stuff. You want to see lots of blood? You ain't getting
Yeah, I was thinking, I was trying to see like how would that work? Like how in Mortal Kombat 1 you can knock them into the pit and they fall into the spear. I wonder how that gonna work for people like Superman, unless it's a kryptonite spear.
Well, the whole logic behind the game is because the whole logic behind the game is that they gave Superman a another vulnerability. Since the Mortal Kombat universe is filled with magic, key energy is considered magic. That was pretty much the only reason how the humans from the Mortal Kombat universe will be able to stand toe to toe with Superman because they had magic-based abilities. Now, I think they may have pulled that vulnerability from somewhere in the comics. I mean, I think that's been brought up before, but I'm not sure. The first I've heard of it was with this game, and how Superman could even you know avoid steamrolling over everybody because that's Superman. But magic is a vulnerability of Superman. So if he gets hit, he will bleed. If he's hit with a magic-based attack, yeah.
Oh, that sucks. That means pretty much all the DC characters suck. Because it was like Superman was the main character, was the real superhero for real. Well, Wonder Woman was pretty strong, but everybody else had like puny powers. Not to mention people like Wonder Twin. Like I don't understand that one. Like whoever designed the Wonder Twins must have been really high or eating meth or something like that. Because I'm like, I don't understand how you go Wonder Twin power and the guy always turns into stuff like a mop or a broom or
Lack of idea.
like a pail of water.
I think they were created during the boom of superheroes. Everybody was making superheroes at the time, so basically every superhero wore tights. Everybody had like a two sentence origin, and whatever powers they did had, you had to accept at face value. So I don't think a lot of the characters that they had back in the day were very deep. So that's how you get the Wonder Twins. I mean, I got nothing else to say about that.
Yeah, that's not good at all. Let's see. Oh shoot, we run out of time. Let's see. Actually, yeah, we run out of time. We could talk about this all day, as you can see. But definitely, we look forward to your comments, and I'm gonna open the floor to Sean and Will for last comments.
Excellent, excellent. That was definitely fun bringing back the Gamers Channel this week. I'd like to have it again next week. So, yeah, if you want to see some more of us rattling on about the stuff about video games, be sure to be back here by subscribing, all that good stuff. There's a subscribe button somewhere. Be sure to follow me at my YouTube channel, youtube.com/UV Play Sessions. I have a lot of videos up there which I talk about the stuff that I find interesting about video games. Also, you can see an archive of all of my content over at blog2livefree.com. Plan on building another website soon, so feel free to follow me. I usually post all of my updates at Twitter, so you can follow me at twitter.com/5linkskage. That's the number 5, LINXKAGE. And yeah, hope to see you next week.
Awesome. All right, Will.
Words and things. Sorry if I seem a little distracted tonight, because I am. I've been raiding. Good news is, hey, we downed Immersius and with no problems, and we downed Protectors with just a few problems. But hey, we downed it. Whatever. Kill's a kill. We solo tanked that, okay? Like, you're not supposed to solo tank that fight. Anyway, which I guess you can, but anyway. Sorry. Anyway, I'm actually kind of scatterbrained right now because of raid, but I'm about to go yell at some people for not doing their job. So I guess all I can say is crossovers are awesome. If anyone has a Battle.net account, yes, I highly suggest you put in for the betas and alphas, so maybe you can get in on the Heroes of Storm alpha, which is really fun. I highly recommend it. And they actually set it up, too, where you actually have to play against computer and play through practice mode before you can unlock to play co-op mode and to play against other players. And I really like that. I probably should have mentioned that earlier, but it's really fun. They rotate the characters around too, so you get to play as different characters. They actually even have the characters marked easy, hard, medium, like how they are to master. Anyway, words and things.
Awesome. And I am Greg, the spokesman Star Jewel. As you can tell, you can find me on all the different social medias: Facebook, Twitter, Foursquare, even Tumblr, Pinterest, all those different things you can find me. And also, you can go to gregstarjewel.com/money and technology to subscribe. And as you can tell, each person here is going to have this video somewhere on their webpage or on a blog, and there's somewhere where you can get in contact with them. Either if you look below this video, or whatever video you're looking at, where you're looking at the video, you're probably going to see a subscribe button or get to know me, contact me, or it might be on the side, up above, or right. And you might be able to see it and click on it, definitely get in contact with one of us. And we definitely would like to help you share your interests on video games and also hear what topics you want to hear on these channels, because we made these just for you. And then also, I am in the process of doing a Kickstarter myself for a video game and animation that I'm doing. And so below this video, if you're looking on my pages, you'll see a button or a link to that Kickstarter. And so you can check it out, and if you want to donate, you can. And so those are things about me. I look forward to seeing you all on the next episode. And I apologize for being away from y'all so long. And so I won't do this again. I won't do that again. And I will be there for you. Same back channel, same back place. All right. Till then, take care. Have a great day. And always stay in front of your video game. Take care.